Hi. So, my husband and my father are downstairs working on the family room renovation. I just want to say that I have started and stopped this video probably 7 times. So, I am actually in our smallest little bedroom of the house, kind of hidden away. This would have been what our nursery would have been, and we don't use this room often at all. Right now, it's just a placeholder for a lot of the stuff that was down in the family room. But I thought that I would kind of just hang out in here this morning. This little short video is going to just be about what our life is going to look like in the future in terms of doctor, kind of future planning for what we would do if we were to get pregnant and beyond. So, disclaimer, I'm not going to talk about like where we were in terms of hospital or facility. And I'm not going to talk about where we are going now. But if you feel so inclined and you want more information about kind of the things that worked well for us, who we saw, recommendations, etc., feel free to reach out to me. Sorry, I hear my dog right outside the door. So there's that. Our journey started back in 2017 when we found out we were pregnant. I had just gotten an OB. It was a recommendation. She was actually really, really great. But then life happens and we just didn't want to continue on with her. So after we had lost Mary, the doctor had done a panel of tests because we had found out that my mom was a carrier for the prothrombin gene mutation, which is a clotting disorder. They tested me for all sorts of items in relation to clotting, and we found out that I as well was a carrier for the prothrombin gene mutation, and that they couldn't say for sure, but it was highly suggested that possibly this had something to do with our first loss. When I delivered Mary, fun fact, I went through twice the process of childbirth. So I opted not to have a DNC. I had at 18 weeks, I still had the option of a DNC. I chose not to because she was fully formed. And so we wanted to have a place for her. So I went into the hospital on the 28th of December. They induced, I was in labor for 4 hours. I vaginally delivered. I got to hold her for about 24 hours. And then the funeral home came and picked her up. We had a service for her after the first of the year because it was right around Christmas time. It was right around New Year. So after we had delivered Mary, again, I went through all these tests, found out that I was a carrier, and it didn't stop me from wanting to get pregnant again. It's kind of weird. Like, it's not a club that you want to be a part of, but obviously that's just a part of our lives. We went to Las Vegas after Mary in February for Nathan's birthday. It was a big surprise. And when we got home, another fun fact, we have no issue with fertility in terms of we are able to get pregnant pretty quick. I mean, it only took a couple times. And so when we found out we were pregnant with our second, we decided not to go to the same OB. We got a recommendation for another OB. We sought her out. She sent us to a high-risk OB for an ultrasound. He saw that I was a carrier for the prothrombin gene mutation, decided that the chances were only 5% that there would be intrauterine fetal demise. And he just thought that the first loss was just a fluke. Naive as we were, we said, okay, well, we're just going with it. So we went through the entire pregnancy not marked as high risk, which now I know I should have been. And at 20 weeks, I started developing preeclampsia and some of the features that go along with that. I started off with swollen ankles and feet. They were gross. And then I ended up with protein in my urine, and I was hospitalized. Again, induced for labor. That time I was in labor for 16 hours. And I don't even remember the time frame in which I was in the hospital, because I was in the hospital twice. The doctor did not feel as though, she didn't have as high as hopes as we did in terms of caring for our child. She felt as though my life was of better importance to treat, and we really wanted to get to 24 weeks. That was our goal, because we felt that she would have more of a shot in this world had we been able to keep her incubated inside of me until week 24. Didn't make it past week 22, and here we are. So, in the meantime, this is like 6.5 minutes to get to this point. We have switched providers again. We actually are working with a fertility clinic locally, and when the time comes and we do get pregnant again, which we are not actively trying not to get pregnant, if that makes sense. Again, people will say, you could just adopt, or you could just get a surrogate, and you should try to figure out how much money that costs out of hand, because we do not have that kind of money to just lay down out of pocket. It would be near impossible. We would literally have to be millionaires. So our best chance of having a family would be to continue to try to have our own kids. We switched providers, like I said. We're seeing a fertility specialist who will see us for a period of time once we do get pregnant, who will then transfer care to a high-risk provider. That provider will only deliver downtown. So when the time would come and we would get pregnant again, we would not be delivering locally. We would be kind of housed downtown, and it would just provide us with a better shot, especially if we did end up delivering preterm. So we have a plan in place. The doctors feel very, very confident. Right now, I am on a regimen of 2 baby aspirin daily, and I will be on that through pregnancy. And then the second that we have a positive home pregnancy test, we'll be working with our hematologist as well as our fertility specialist to administer Lovenox daily, just 1 dose. But from what I've heard, it gets more painful the more pregnant you are. So like after we had Dottie, it was not that difficult for me to self-administer. But I have a feeling that if we were to get pregnant and I would have to administer, I would need a lot of help from Nathan, because you have to kind of administer in fatty tissue. So right now, I am fine in my belly. But with a big belly, I would probably have to administer in my hips or in my butt. And I can't reach around that far. So, yeah, that's kind of the plan right now. And just kind of paying attention to certain things. Like, I take Synthroid daily. Just making sure that that dosage is correct, because that could create issues. Actually taking vitamin D as well, and a prenatal. So there's lots of things going in, and hopefully this will start to create a nice house for a future little one. If you can hear all of that noise in the background and you have stuck around, good for you, because it is annoying AF. They are plastering downstairs, and there's water going, and there's all sorts of things in addition to that going, and the dog trailing the outside of the door. It's crazy. I am also working on downloading some programs to be able to edit these videos, make it a little bit more #legit, as opposed to me just holding a phone. But that's kind of my plan of action over the next several months, because I think that this is a healing thing for me. And hopefully anybody that's experiencing the same thing might get a little something out of these. And that's really the whole premise. It's not just for fun. It's not just for whatever. I would hope that if anybody came across any of these, that it could be insightful. And it could also be insightful possibly for those people who haven't gone through a loss, but need to understand what this crazy club is all about, because it's not anything that anybody's ever wanted to be a part of, but unfortunately that's just the way that our life was kind of handed to us right now, and we're just doing the best we have with kind of what we've been given in this crazy roller coaster. And that was just kind of a long-winded way to say that we're hanging in there, we're moving forward, and we're going to see what God has in store for us in the next several months. Have a happy Sunday.